And welcome back. I'm joined now by Dr. George Schofield for our Focus 50 segment, as we do every Monday. Good morning, George.
Good morning.
And this morning we are talking about relationships between people over the age of 50 and arguments.
Arguments.
Yes.
So as you know, and Kathy knows, I like to come in and talk about what's come up during the week because it's real. I'm not just dreaming this up.
Yeah,
So I got a phone call from a fellow. I'm not a therapist. I don't do therapy. But a lot of people call me and ask me for help for specific problems. And this fellow called me and said, we're 65. I've lived with this for 30 years. My wife really doesn't like to make up her mind. So in this case, she had chosen a restaurant. He had made the reservation. They were driving to the restaurant, and she turned to him and said, I think I'd rather go to this other restaurant. Some brouhaha ensued, if you will. And this comes up fairly often, that it's perfectly natural to have disagreements. You've been together a long time, of course you're going to have disagreements, even if you haven't been together for a long time. But I thought, okay, this seems to be coming up lately, and there's a lot of stress out there. Let's talk about it.
That gives me a little bit of anxiety that doesn't end after 30 years.
It doesn't.
Now, what kind of things sort of like provoke these arguments other than just that example?
So think about opposites. This fellow wanted decisions made. His wife really didn't like making permanent decisions because something better might come along. You know? It's the opposites that cause the argument, that and the habit of bickering.
Yes.
So there are really two things to pay attention to. Another example would be that when I met with them, she said, he comes home and he recounts his golf stories to me hole by hole by hole, and it doesn't occur to him that I'm perfectly willing to listen to some of it, but not all of it. So they're again at the opposites, if you will. He wants to tell her all about it. She doesn't want to hear about it now because she's heard about it so much. So we have to start looking for the opposites.
Yeah, and so what are some ways that we can make these arguments a little bit smarter, like maybe pick and choose the battles? I know it's a cliche term when it comes to
first thing to do, I think, is to start to look to see if you're out here, because there's no room to maneuver if you're and so sometimes I ask people that I'm working with to each take a white handkerchief, and if they can feel that they're that they as a couple are at opposite, they wave the white handkerchief. It's a signal, if you will.
Yes.
So that's one thing. Another thing is that if you have a habit of bickering, then that really works its way into lots of different little things. How much toilet paper do you buy? Is the soup in alphabetical order? Whatever all these things are. So it helps to have someone else help you pay attention. And to even keep a diary of what came up and what was going on. So I think that that's really, really important.
These are all great tips, and it's good to know, even I think for all ages as well, too.
It is.
Dr. George Schofield, appreciate you joining us.
Thank you. Glad to see you.